Duh. I knew that they were they're getting a young guy getting ready. I was okay with it, but I'll be damned, Dan. I was gonna bust my butt to keep my job as long as I can hold it. I didn't go, oh, whoa, it's me. They just drafted Randall. I'm done. Hey, if you're gonna play in the NFL, particularly at the quarterback position, or as you played in the NFL, you understand this, Dan. You compete every single day.
Ron Jaworski now and get his thoughts on some of the things that are going around the National Football League. And by the way, so I get a call from my cousin, Joe Nagro. Joe goes like this. He's like, you're having Jaws on? I said, yeah, Jaws actually likes me. He goes, oh, my God, make sure you send him some love, man. I love Jaws, man. Joe runs like one of the biggest energy companies on the planet, and he wanted to throw some love out to you, Ron.
Dan, I always appreciate the love, man. Thank you, and good to see you again. Good to be with you again. We just finished the draft. Teams are having their meetings. There's a lot of stuff going on as we look forward to a hopefully 2021 season with fans in the stands.
Absolutely, man. I want to see 100% capacity. We had Frank Reich on the other day, Jaws, and he was just glowing about the opportunity to work with him again. How do you see that working out, Wentz going to Indy?
Yeah, I think it'll work out tremendous for the Indianapolis Colts. In fact, I hated to see Carson leave Philadelphia. And I think, myself, along with many other people who were close to everybody involved in that situation, still have yet to come to terms with what has actually happened. And who can you blame? Who's at fault? To me, it was an organizational failure. There's a lot of pieces that fell apart last season for Carson and the Eagles. And sometimes a player just needs a new beginning, a breath of fresh air, a new system. He's very familiar with Frank's system, so he'll step right in and understand what they're trying to do. Carson has tremendous talent. I mean, I remember his pro day. It was one of the best I've ever seen when I went out to Fargo for that pro day. I talked to Doug Peterson as I was walking off the field after that workout. I said, Coach, get this guy. He's damn good. He can make every throw. And this is after I looked at all his tape and studied him and his scheme and his play calling at the line. Is able to change plays at the line. Peyton Manning like it when he was in college. So you saw that kind of talent. But things just went sour last year, and I think he ended up in a really good place. And I expect him to have a great career in Indianapolis.
I would say this to you, Ron, that it's a little different than, say, back when I played and back when you played, with quarterbacks maybe changing addresses. And the greatest example of that has to be Ryan Tannehill. He's down in Miami, not what we thought he was going to potentially be when he came out of A&M. He goes up there with a running attack up there. He's got Derrick Henry. He's got Mike Vrabel. They put him in a position. He's making $30 million a year now. And so does that give us hope now that these guys may get these second lives, where maybe in the past, if you saw a guy fail at one position, at one team, you moved on from him and he was trash. Guys are getting other opportunities like Sam Darnold in Carolina.
Dan, systems that are friendly to the quarterback's talent is critical for long-term success in the NFL. Not every coach understands, or head coach understands, the quarterback position. I believe the head coach must understand that position and treat it differently. And, a lot of these coaches come in and they're like, hey, this is my system. It worked at X, Y, and Z. It's going to work here. Then you bring a quarterback that doesn't fit that system at all. And you try to put a round peg in a square hole, and it doesn't work. I think Ryan Tannehill is a guy that you don't want to ask him to throw the ball 50 times a game to win the football game. You surround him with a running game, good offensive line, where he doesn't have to drop back and throw that many times. He can use the play action pass game. And any quarterback that's ever played in the NFL, Dan, knows a quarterback's best friend is a running game. And you could run the football and use play action passing, suck those linebackers up, suck those safeties up. That's where the big plays come from. Oh, what is Ryan Tannehill great at? Play action passing. That's where they get their explosive plays. So the quarterback has to be in the right situation with the right coaching staff. It has to be a good fit.
Ron, one more question on the whole, Wentz deal with Philadelphia and then moving him to Indy. I said to you, we had Frank Reich on. Were you shocked that he said on our show that the owner called to make the deal first. It wasn't the general manager. He followed up. And to me, Ron, when I heard that, it made me think that's how Nick Sirianni's name eventually emerged, because they got basically a 2-for-1 in this. They moved the guy. They got a coach out of it. I'm not saying that the owner cut the deal per se to move him with all the nuts and bolts that how he had to come in. But were you shocked that the front office is so involved in doing something like this, including the owner, on moving the player and then off that same staff? It just seemed that it's kind of like maybe it's coincidence. Maybe it is. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't think Jeffrey Lurie was out of line by making that call. He has a relationship with Frank Reich.
He does.
He's in Philadelphia. So I think two guys that understand each other well and know each other well, I have no problem with that discussion whatsoever. And quite honestly, for all the parties involved, I am glad it ended. It was nothing but some nonsense going on in here in Philadelphia. I live in South Jersey, across the river from Philadelphia. I get tired of talking about it. I go to the golf course, all over here. Oh, my jaw's lit. Like I got all. Dan, I was tired of hearing about it. So I think the deal got done, and they moved forward. And kind of by the way, Nick Sirianni asked me to speak to his rookie class on Saturday, and myself and Harold Carmichael. By the way, congratulations to Harold.
Yes.
Hall of Fame on August 7th, and we got a chance to speak to those young guys. And by the way, either I'm getting older or they're getting younger. It's probably the first part. I'm getting older. The guys look young. But Nick Sirianni and that staff, they have great energy. I mean, I love a young staff. I'm not going to stand here and tell you, hey, they're going to be great. They're phenomenal. I don't know that. But I like coaches that bring incredible energy to the workplace, guys that are fired up about their job. It's a young staff, but it's an energetic staff. I talked to a bunch of the rookies, man. They are ready to run through a wall for this guy. They hardly know him. So there were some I'm not putting the cart in front of the horse, but there were some good things that I saw in that mini camp last week in Philadelphia. So that gets me excited about Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff and the potential. Hey, the Eagles are a mediocre team right now. They're rebuilding. But I think they got a good young staff that the players will relate to.
Ron, let me take you to Green Bay here. And I hear people talking, and what makes me sick, and you and I know this, Joe Theismann even said this, I don't care if they draft a quarterback. I don't care who they do this. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm a front window guy. I'm not a rear window guy. Everybody knows you're hired and drafted to be replaced eventually because of economics today, especially, whatever. I think the scenario in Green Bay goes down to this. Last year, you give up 7 points going into the half. Another coaching blunder. Fourth quarter, you don't go for it on fourth down. You draft a quarterback a year ago. I don't know, Ron. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's accumulation of things that has brought us here. Do you see it that way?
Well, yes, it's always a number of things. And we well understand Aaron Rodgers is, one of the best in the business. But he's also one of the quirkiest guys you'd ever want to meet. So none of this surprises me whatsoever. And by the way, I agree with Joe's statement. You got to look forward. And, when I was the quarterback for the Eagles, Randall Cunningham was drafted, in the second round. Duh. I knew that they were, they're getting a young guy getting ready. I was okay with it, but I'll be damned, Dan. I was going to bust my butt to keep my job as long as I can hold it. I didn't go, oh, woe is me. They just drafted Randall. I'm done. Hey, if you're going to play in the NFL, particularly at the quarterback position, or as you played in the NFL, you understand this, Dan. You compete every single day. The average career is just over 3 years. Our audience probably just said, what did he say? 3-year NFL career. So, man, there's always someone out there to take your job. I don't care if he's drafted in the first round, the 7th round, or free agent acquisition. You better learn how to compete for your job or you will be gone quickly.
I want to go to Dallas now. Dak Prescott gets the $42 million, and good for him. I think he's a great face of that franchise. But, Ron, going into that injury against the Giants last year, I mean, they had a miraculous comeback against the Eagles. That defense on the other side is sieves. And if you think you're going to plug holes with rookies, man, I don't know, man. I look at that Dallas team and I go, maybe they got stability at the quarterback position, but you got an overpaid running back in Ezekiel Elliott. You're paying $20 million on your wide receiver. You got an aging offensive line. I don't know, Ron. Why do I look at it and go, okay, the schedule's softer because they were bad last year, so maybe it's going to be some fool's gold early, but I don't want to give you a loaded question here, but dude, I don't know. I mean,
Hey,
How do you look at it?
Dan, relax. Why are you worried about the money? It's Jerry Jones's money. let him give it away to Dak and all the guys that he's got. But I tell you what, this team could ring the register about 40 a game this year. They've got incredible offensive talent, just incredible. And obviously, you look what they did in the draft. The first 6 picks were defensive guys. They know that defense stinks, but they got a guy at that linebacker spot, Micah Parsons, who's going to make everyone a whole lot better, Dan. If I watch this league evolve over the last couple of years, you got to have linebackers that are 3-down linebackers. They can play first, second, and third down, and very few of them do in this league anymore. They go to nickel and dime packages. Micah Parsons runs like a 4.38 40 at 240 pounds. This guy, he'll wreck your game plan in a heartbeat. That's how good he is. So I tell people here in Philadelphia, I studied this guy at Penn State. You took a year off last year to COVID, but this guy, every game was making plays, sideline to sideline, end zone to end zone. I mean, like you said, he wrecked your game plan. So they've got a real solid linebacker in Parsons.
How do you look at this Tebow story in Jacksonville?
I don't even look at it. I don't. I really, and I'm not saying that. I love Tim Tebow. He's an awesome guy. We all know that. But Tim, move on, brother. Move on. Move on.
Hey, Ron, right? Wait a minute. Hey, man, how many times did Turk call you, dog?
Move. 34 years old and you're going to become a tight end? Come on. Hey, go back to the Yankees, man. I think you got a better shot there.
Hey, I'm gonna call some of my friends in the NFL and go, hey, look, I know I'm in my 50s, but I can hold. Your expectation.
You could probably hold real well.
Well, no question, right on my belly button. Hey, your expectations in New England will be what this year?
Yeah, I'm a big Bill Belichick fan. I think the guy's one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest coach of all time. And I played a couple years for Don Shula down in Miami, so I know what greatness looks like. Bill had a down year last year. People forget how really gutted his team was last year from COVID. They had 8 or 9 starters that weren't even on the field all season long, and he piecemealed a very competitive team together. Hey, it's going to take some time, but Bill is good at turning things around quickly.
I think they're going to win too. Ron, tell me I'm crazy when I say this to you about Justin Fields. Okay, in the 131 years of Ohio State football, name me one guy, that has come out of that program where you went, holy criminy, that guy blew the NFL up. And I know I'm recruiting to school here. I know. But here, follow me here. They had the guy in the building when they were evaluating the quarterback position between Dwayne Haskins and when Justin was transferring over from Georgia, he was going to be in that building. Ryan Day and Urban Meyer looked at Joe Burrow and said, you're not the guy. He has to leave and goes to LSU. He wins the national title. He wins the Heisman. He's the number 1 pick. I look at Joe Burrow and I go like this. I see it. I see this kid. They evaluated the team. They evaluate that position wrong all the time in Columbus. Why is Justin Fields the difference?
Well, we're going to find out rather quickly. Obviously, you mentioned Joe Burrow, and again, not take anything from Day or Meyer or those guys. They're terrific coaches, but when you get a real good coach, and you see what happened with Joe Burrow that last year at LSU, his percentage went up. His accuracy went up. Everything went up. So I think coaches has something to do with that. I'm not knocking Ryan Day. He has NFL experience. He was here in Philadelphia. Urban Meyer's, had great success everywhere. But the NFL is a different animal. I mean, it is about, and I said this since I went to ESPN in 1991 when they first hired me. The most overlooked aspect of quarterbacking is accuracy. The first time Mel Kiper comes on the air and, hey, he's got a big, strong arm and he can run. Big deal. Means nothing. If you can't throw the ball with accuracy, if you can't play from the pocket on a consistent basis, running should be a second thought. And too often now in the NFL, fans get excited. The quarterback runs around and runs for 20 yards, then throws 3 balls in the dirt. They remember the 20-yard run that he had. So to me, when I look at tape of these college guys coming out, I look for the pinpoint accuracy on a competitive basis, repetitive basis, where a guy can do it play in and play out. And that's kind of been, I look at Justin Fields. I mean, the guy's obviously, you watch him run, you watch him play. He's a tremendous athlete. But I didn't see that repetitive accuracy. And maybe that's why some people weren't as crazy about him as we all thought he was. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a great player in the NFL. He could be a Hall of Famer. But the repetitive accuracy is something I always look for.
Two last questions for you, Jaws. I want to throw this at you, what Jimmy Johnson said on the show here last week about Lamar Jackson. And he made the comparison to Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. And that if you're okay with minus yards with Barry's going to do things, and he's going to reverse field. He's not going to jam it. He's not going to keep the integrity of the play. If he sees he has to do something, you've got to learn to live with negative plays. When we had Emmitt was 3 yards, 5 yards, 8 yards. Ron, you looked up, he had 25 carries, 135 yards, and you're like this. But you never saw minus plays with him. And Jimmy said, when you get into the postseason, this is where Lamar is going to struggle more because you're going to be playing against teams that keep the integrity of their defense. They set the edge. You're not going to be able to do those cutbacks like that. And that's why maybe, again, and I know the whole thing, Emmitt had a better O-line. I get that. But if you're okay with that style of play, you're going to win a lot of regular season games. He's just not so sure about the postseason. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. That philosophy is dangerous at the quarterback position. I mean, Lamar is obviously a terrific player. That dual punch. He can throw, he can run. There's nothing the guy can't do. But when you get in the playoffs, those windows are a lot smaller. You play against better athletes. You play against better defenses. And we have seen from Lamar so far in the playoffs, he has not played as well in the playoffs. And teams in the playoffs defensively are normally a lot more disciplined. They'll take their drops. They'll peer back in the backfield. They will see him. They'll give him tighter windows. As I said earlier on your show, Dan, now you see 6-7 defensive backs out there in passing situations. Man, those windows really shrink down. So it gets back to that repetitive accuracy I spoke about. And he hasn't shown that against really good defenses in the playoffs. Not saying he won't, because he seems to get better every year. But clearly, I think he's got to prove that he can make accurate throws on a repetitive basis in the postseason before I anoint him as a Super Bowl savior in Baltimore.
Finally here, Tua Tagovailoa. Are you a fan?
I'm thinking it through.
I'm not. I don't see it yet. I look at Justin Herbert and I saw Joe Burrow last year. I went like this. Wow. I looked at Tua. I went like this. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I stuttered. I didn't have usually I get an instant reaction. Like when someone says, should he be in the Hall of Fame? I usually say yes or no really quick, and I'm right by you. I had to think about it for a second, And oh, by the way, I know you're having or you had my dear friend Herman.
Oh, we're having him on at the top of the hour, Herm Edwards.
Okay, so I won't blow anything. I'll leave you to Herm, but I love that guy, man. If there's a brother that I would love to have, it would be Herman Edwards. He is one of my dearest friends. In fact, I'm going out for a game this year. He invited me out for a game. Working with that guy at ESPN, an 8-year teammate at Philadelphia. That guy's the coolest dude you ever want to meet. All those jerks out there said, "Oh, he'll never coach at college again." They don't know football.
Man, he's doing a great job. I'm gonna do this though, Ron, for you. I'm gonna leave you with this. When I was in the NFL and I used to just play this back, you should be in the Hall of Fame for this one thing. How come LT killed Jaworski more than any quarterback? I told Theismann this. Theismann, I know he did the leg on you. Joe goes, yeah. He goes, but he killed Jaworski way more than you.
I had some bad left tackles in my later career.
Hey, Ron, thank you, brother.
You're the best, Dan. All right.
You bet, man. Thank you. That's Jaws, man. That's my friend, Ron Jaworski, man. I had some bad left tackles. That's phenomenal stuff there, man. All right, we'll take a brief time out. You keep it right here on the National Football Show.